After a week off, we are back with UFC Vegas 107. In this video, we're going to break down every single fight on the card, and I will give you a prediction for each of them without any wasted time. The links are in the description. Let's jump right into that first matchup. At 115 pounds, Rayanne dos Santos takes on Ardelean. Both of these ladies are 3-2 in their last 5. Both of these ladies are on a 2-fight skid, and both of these ladies have had a couple of fights where you could argue they won, but still didn't. Right? Both of them have had very controversial decisions, kept them close fights, things like that. When we look at these two, Ardelean, she's probably going to be the more balanced skill set, whereas for Dos Santos, she's better in one area by a bit more than she is in the other, if that makes sense. We'll cover it more in a minute. So for Ardelean, good striker, good volume, combinations. I like to see it. I like that she puts the punches and kicks together. Got a pretty good leg kick as well. Nothing special, but pretty good at doing the essentials, right? The basic stuff. She's pretty good at that. Good grappling as well. She's got good throws, good ground and pound if she can get on top. Again, nothing super special, but she does pretty good at what she does. On the other side, Dos Santos. She's going to be undersized in every single fight in the UFC, essentially, because, I mean, she's an atomweight, and they don't have an atomweight division in the UFC, so she fights at strawweight. I don't see her really... I think she's going to get out-physicaled in most fights, including this one. So there is that problem for her. But she's a decent striker with good movement and good volume. I like that for her. But the jiu-jitsu is where she gets it done, right? This girl's got good top control. She uses ground and pound really well to set up her submission attempts, in which she will then go for the submission attempt. Both of these fighters have a path to victory here, but here's how I'm seeing it. I'm seeing a massive side, or not massive, a very big favorite in Dos Santos, a girl who's undersized and probably got robbed against Puja Tomar. Could have gotten robbed in her fight before that, too, against Allan, which I think she kind of, maybe did. So you got a girl that's been robbed twice in her last 2 fights that fights on pretty slim margins. She's undersized, and she's a huge favorite against someone who also, sure, I feel like similar sentiments there, but she's a big underdog. I wanted to be able to pick Dos Santos here. I do, but the line is kind of edging me towards the underdog. Now, I don't know that it's one of those fights. Look, I'm going to put this out to you without putting it out to you directly, and I hope that you can read between the lines. I've got another option for you later to read between the lines, and you probably won't get it for at least half of you, but that's okay. Ardelean can most likely keep this fight competitive, and there's a lot of options if you are a gambler as to where you don't actually have to win the fight with your pick to win the bet. With that said, I'm going to take Ardelean. Let me know what you guys think. Lightweights next. MarQuel Mederos takes on Bolaji Oki. Oki's 4-1 in his last 5, 5-0 for Mederos. Now in this one here for Oki, he's a decent striker. Lots of good things, but a couple of red flags that kind of drop that down. Otherwise, I mean, there's a lot I like, right? He's good at certain things. He's got good forward pressure a lot of the time. He's got good head movement. He works his jab really well, and he's got good counters. However, when he's met with pressure that meets his pressure, like he's a guy that is physical, comes forward, starts landing and starts slamming that jab out there, starts working his shots. If he's met with pressure, he'll start backing up. So he's pressure first, but will resort to that retreating kind of jab and counter style when he's met with somebody that's also willing to pressure him, if that makes sense. I hope I've explained that well. Another thing is, as the fight goes on, his hands go from up top to down low. I don't know if he just gets tired, the big old muscles on them arms kind of get a little heavy, or if it's a thing where he starts to get comfortable landing his shots and starts to think, okay, I'm doing pretty well here. I don't need to worry about guarding as much. And that kind of makes me nervous. Especially in a fight with a guy like Mederos, who is a pretty good striker in his own right. Now, so there's a couple of red flags, but I do like a lot of stuff about him, specifically that jab. It's very good. Decent grappler, offensively, defensively. It's hard to say because he's got a good double leg. We haven't seen much from him in the grappling, but I have seen that. He's got good takedown defense, but the submission defense, that's the problem. It's not that he got subbed by Chris Duncan with the guillotine. It's what he did in attempts to defend it, which wasn't enough. It wasn't much, right? He didn't go through the right steps to defend the guillotine. That's what gives me the negative here for him on the submission defense. Maybe you think I'm wrong. That's okay. I don't mind if you disagree. I understand Duncan has a good guillotine. I'm just saying the way that he reacted to it and did not do the things you need to do to fight off a guillotine, that's what makes me think his submission defense could use some work. On the other side, for Mederos. Mederos is a good striker. I think he's probably a slightly better striker because he has a few more things that are going well and not as many things that are kind of like, make me nervous. He can fight at either stance. Love that. I love that he uses the feints, good combinations, and his awkward style. Sure, that could be a negative, but I think it's a positive in most fights, including this one. So I like a lot of that stuff there. I do think he's got enough power to hurt a guy like Oki and make Oki start doing that back up that he does, which we don't want if you're on the Oki side. Now, decent grappler. He's got a good cage push. On the mat, he's not the best. Obviously, we saw him lose a lot of minutes to Austin Hubbard. But in the cage push, he does a really good job of just wearing on his opponents before bringing them back out into striking range. And he can also work in takedowns here when he needs to. For me, I got to go with the underdog in MarQuel Mederos. I think he's going to get this one done. I think it's a close competitive fight, but I think Mederos can get it done. But let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Bit of a short notice matchup here, so that's why it takes place at 180 pounds. Trvin Giles is coming in on short notice to take on Andreas Gustafsson. Gustafsson is 4-1 in his last 5, 2-3 for Giles, but I will say this is a big step down in competition for Giles, not because Gustafsson is bad necessarily, it's because Giles has been fighting some of the top guys in the division, so that 3-fight losing skid that he is on is, it's against pretty good competition, right? But let's look at them skill for skill. For Giles, the short notice guy in this matchup, so take that for what you will. Do with that information what you must. Giles, he's a good striker. Everybody knows about his jab. He sticks that jab. It's a very good jab, but he's a good striker overall because he can put together combinations. He's got pretty good footwork, and his counters are there. But the problem that Giles has always had is the lack of volume. He does not put out enough volume, and he is often losing in fights just because he's not putting that out there. Now, if he can stick that jab out there consistently, he's going to land quite a bit in this fight, but it's just what kind of volume is he going to put out? In the grappling, he's good there as well. He's got decent takedowns offensively. He's got good top control, and his takedown defense is pretty good. So that's something you want to see for the guy on short notice, because I think on the feet at distant striking range is where he's going to have his biggest advantage. If he can get on top, sure, but I think at distant striking range is where that jab's going to get the work going. The counters are going to be there, things like that. On the other side for Gustafsson, he's a decent striker. Basically, he just comes forward with these aggressive barrages. Now, opposite of Giles, he has a ton of volume with that barraging style. He's got good forward pressure. He's durable, but he's extremely reckless. This dude is getting hit. His striking defense is not really there at all. He's a good grappler, but mostly against the cage. He got a solid cage push. He just grinds guys out, uses those knees and elbows just in that kind of that gritty clinch exchange, and that's where he's the best. He does have some upper body takedowns. He has pretty good ground and pound volume, and his cardio is there. He can hold up for, a long time. The dude's tough. He's going to be in there. He's not worried about getting hit, but I believe he's coming off a pretty severe neck injury, so correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure Gustafsson's coming off a big neck injury. Trvin Giles is going to be the more skilled fighter in this matchup. It's just, is he going to do enough? I'm going to take him. I think Giles gets it done. It's a close fight. Give me the underdog in Giles. I'm probably going to dig my own grave again, picking too many underdogs. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next matchup. Jordan Leavitt returns after an extended layoff. I believe it was due to some concussion problems, which that's a bit of a red flag. But he's in there to fight Kurt Holobaugh, who is kind of win one, lose one in the UFC as of late. He's 3-2 in his last 5, much like Jordan Leavitt being 3-2 in his last 5. Guys, I got to put this out there right now. Kurt Holobaugh, if he had any semblance of a takedown defense whatsoever, this dude could be a ranked fighter. Absolutely. He has all of the skills outside of takedown defense. He just doesn't have any. So let's start on his side. We're going to start with the takedown defense. It isn't there. If he loses a fight, this is why. He gets top timed. Every single time he's losing, that's why. Not every single time. Pretty much every time. If he's losing the fight, it's because he's getting top time because he just doesn't have takedown defense. On the feet, solid striker. Good combinations. Good footwork. Has a nice long jab. He can counter strike well. In the grappling, he has solid jiu-jitsu. Like absolutely solid jiu-jitsu. He's very safe on top. He's got good ground and pound. He's extremely active from his back, and his submission arsenal it's like a whole encyclopedia. The problem is he doesn't have any takedown defense whatsoever, and he can just get stuck on his back. If you beat him, that is how you beat him. That is how Trey Ogden beat him. And speaking of that Trey Ogden fight, you know what? We'll get to that in a minute. Either way, to beat this guy, you just need to take him down and stay there. Now, on the other side, also, I thought Holobaugh beat Hernandez, but whatever. For Jordan Leavitt, decent striker, not because he's like good at striking, but he's so unorthodox and his grappling threat is present. It kind of opens up some stuff on the feet. I don't think he's really a good striker by any means, but it can surprise guys. He is a good grappler. He's got a solid takedown. It's mostly that single leg. His single leg is pretty good. It doesn't really matter what kind of takedown you got, because if you shoot a takedown on Holobaugh, you probably get it, which is, for Holobaugh fans, that is very depressing. But he's got good transitions, decent top control for Leavitt. He does seek the submission, and he starts really fast. So he's going to come out of the gate looking for that win. At least historically speaking, that is what he does. Now, here's the deal. You're not gonna submit Kurt Holobaugh. Jordan Leavitt is not submitting Kurt Holobaugh. Okay? I feel very confident in saying that. I don't think he's knocking him out either. Dude's tough as nails. And if this goes to decision, I feel like Jordan Leavitt wins, but Holobaugh could win. If there's a finish in this fight, I am very confident in saying that Kurt Holobaugh wins. Now, I'm going to let you read between the lines. Now, if you are too stupid to understand what I'm saying, that is not my fault. There is someone in the comments section of a previous video when I was breaking down a Kurt Holobaugh fight, and I tried to tell them this, and they threw an absolute temper tantrum. So please don't throw a temper tantrum. If you can't understand it, do some research. It's okay. There is a method to the madness here. I'm going to take Kurt Holobaugh, and like I said, if there's a finish in the fight, I believe he wins. If it goes to decision, he probably loses. So take that information, process it, and make your decision based on that. I'm going to take Kurt Holobaugh. I want you to do a little critical thinking. I'm not just going to spell it out for you, because that's how we get better. Critical thinking. Thank you for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Like this video if you're enjoying yourself. Let's get to the next. This is probably one of the trickier fights on the card for me. It's Allan Nascimento and Jafel Filho. This is in the flyweight division. The reason this is so tricky is because both guys have been away from the cage for quite some time, and it's really hard to know what version of a fighter you're going to get when they've both been away for an extended period of time. 3-2 in the last 5 for Nascimento, 4-1 for Filho. Both of these guys have a similar style as well. When we look at Filho, decent striker with power, good lead hook, not much striking defense, but durable. Very similar to Nascimento. We'll get that in a second. Solid jiu-jitsu. Good body lock and trip style takedown. Aggressively attacking submissions. Good submission arsenal, and he starts really fast. These are all similar things to Nascimento. For Nascimento, decent striker, good forward pressure, good power, solid jiu-jitsu. His sweeps, his scrambles are there. Doesn't sweep as much as I'd like him to, but he has the ability to do so. Good submission arsenal. He will attack submissions. Zero takedown defense, and he's just content to work from his back sometimes. Honestly, this is one of those fights where both guys have very similar skill sets, and we haven't seen them, so it's so hard to know. For me, I'm going to make a pick based on who I think is going to be the better in the jiu-jitsu exchanges, because I do believe that both of these guys probably want to get the fight there, but it could end up being one of those things where grappler versus grappler is a striking fight, and at that point, I don't know how we're going to get this one. I'm going to take Nascimento with the least confident pick on the card for me. We're taking Nascimento. Let me know what you guys think, and I will. Middleweights next. Dusco Todorovic takes on Zach Reese. Zach Reese is 3-2 in his last 5, 2-3 for Todorovic. Interesting fight. So for Dusco, he is a decent striker with pretty good forward pressure, good volume, and he can put together combinations. His problem is he gets hit a lot, and his durability just isn't there. So these two things alone really hurt that skill rating for me, because it doesn't take much to put him out. Decent grappler as well. Decent takedowns. Good ground and pound. Takedown defense isn't there. The dude is kill or be killed to the letter. He's very much offense, not so much defense. So if Dusco isn't in complete control of the fight, he's probably getting wrecked. Now, on the other side, for Zach Reese, good striker, powerful. He puts his punches and kicks together extremely well. Here's how you know Zach Reese is powerful. When we had the new gloves and everybody was saying nobody's getting knockouts, what does Zach Reese do? Zach Reese goes out there and gets a one-punch KO. That guy's got some power. If you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. Zach Reese has got the power. Now, when it comes to grappling, lots to like, a couple things not to. Powerful slammer, big, heavy ground and pounding, and attack submissions well. Problem is he's willing to work from his guard too much. I don't like that at all. He's typically a fast starter. Most of his wins come really early in a fight, and I don't think that changes here. I think Zach Reese goes out there and gets a knockout in the first round. We're taking Zach Reese to get this one done. Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next first of two Macys on this one here. Macy Chiasson takes on Ketlen Vieira. Both of these ladies are 3-2 in their last 5 fights, and this is in the bantamweight division. When we're going to start this one off, we're going to start on the Macy side. Macy Chiasson is a good striker who sticks the jab really well. She's got good volume, and she can fight at range pretty well. She does have a long wingspan for the division. She's a fairly large girl. I hate saying that. That sounds bad every time you say that. But either way, she is a 145er who has found a way to make it to 135. So she has a large frame for the division. Good grappler as well. Decent takedowns. Ground and pound's really good. But the cage push, her control in the cage push is probably going to be something she should use in this matchup for success. On the other side, for Ketlen Vieira, good striker. She's got probably more power in this one. She's got good flurries, but she does find herself kind of open on the defensive side. She doesn't have the best striking defense. Good grappler in her own right. Good top control. Decent takedowns. Her takedown defense is solid, though. We saw how hard Kayla Harrison had to work to get this woman to the mat. I do not think that the best strategy for Chiasson is go out there and shoot takedowns on her unless those takedowns are used to push Vieira up against the cage, because that is where she struggles. She can be held against the cage. Being held against the cage is something that has cost her fights in the past, and when you're going against somebody that has that as a skill set, that is a good path. Additionally, the striking defense, range control, and jab work of Chiasson, I feel like she's getting this one done. We're taking Macy Chiasson, push her up against the cage, win minutes there, stick the jab at range, and keep that distance. I'm going Macy Chiasson. I think this is a clear-cut pick for her. Got a matchup in the light heavyweight division between Dustin Jacoby and Bruno Lopes. In this one here, Lopes is 4-1 in his last 5, 2-3 for Jacoby. But I will say, this is a step down in competition for Jacoby. His last, losses have been against some pretty high-level guys. So that is something to take into account. For Lopes, only that one setback, his first fight on the Contender Series, in which he was a huge favorite and did not deliver in that fight whatsoever. For Lopes, though, he's come back. He's bounced back since then. He's a good striker. He's got good forward pressure, good volume. He has mixed up his strikes to all different levels. He puts together combinations. But one thing I don't so much like is when he starts throwing hooks, the dude is wide open to counters. That is a problem for him against Jacoby. But other than that, the striking looks fine. Good grappler as well. I would say he's probably the better grappler of the two. He's got good takedown defense. Ground and pound's pretty good. Good top pressure. Decent body lock takedown. I do think he's going to struggle to get this fight to the mat consistently against a guy like Jacoby because his takedown, although decent, I think it takes a little more than that to get Jacoby to the mat. For Dustin Jacoby, solid striker. I think he's going to be the better striker here. I don't know that he hits as hard, but I think he's the better striker. He's got good volume, good leg kick, just kind of keeps that going. Good combinations, and the thing that I like the best for Jacoby here is the counter striking. I think that is where he's going to be able to counter strike on those hooks, and that's going to help him. He does have really good takedown defense, and when he stuffs the takedown, he goes right into striking. So he'll stuff takedown, strike, rather than stuff, get back out to space, do what he needs to do. No, he just goes right at it. So I do like that a lot. So the youth is going to be on the side of Lopes here, though, and that is something that is going to play a factor, I do believe. That said, I'm going to take Jacoby. I think the counters are going to be there. I think he's going to be able to just show the levels. And not that Lopes isn't good. I just don't know that he's quite ready for this step up in competition just yet, based on the performances we've seen as of late. Give me Dustin Jacoby to be the better striker out there for 15 minutes and get this one done. Let me know what you think. We got an interesting fight here because both of these guys had their opponents fall out due to visa issues. So the UFC said, hey, why don't you guys just fight each other? And they agreed. So that's how we're here. And that all happened within the last few days. So both of these guys are getting new opponents. So it's kind of an even playing field as far as that goes. For Ramiz Brahimaj, he is 3-2 in his last 5. Billy Goff is 4-1 in his last 5. Very close decision with Trey Waters. I thought Waters won. A lot of people had Goff in that one. So, it's a close competitive fight. For Brahimaj, I believe he's got 10 of his 11 wins are by submission, which is impressive, right? Let's break down these guys skill for skill. Goff is a good striker, and he's definitely going to be the better striker here. Defensively, maybe not, but everything else, right? Goff is all offense, no defense, and that's him to the letter. So for his striking, that's what you get. Guy's going to come forward, tons of volume, works the body super well. I love the dirty boxing out of him, but like I said, the striking defense isn't quite there. Dude's tough as nails, but he will just zombie forward sometimes, just coming through, eating shots, doesn't care. You gotta take out the brain stem, right? That's how you take out a zombie. You're not going to do that to Billy Goff, especially not if you're not an extremely heavy hitter. So Goff's just going to keep coming forward and landing shots. On the feet, I think he has a severe advantage here. Grappling, he's a good grappler. He's got decent takedowns, but the cage push is kind of his best thing because that's where he can get that dirty boxing kind of going, as well as in the open space clinching. But you know what I mean. Up against the cage, you can get that dirty boxing going really well. But the pace is what makes him dangerous in this fight. Now, when we look at Brahimaj, decent striker, basically just because of the grappling threat being so prevalent there that he does have the ability to start landing some shots on the feet. He's got decent power, but realistically, he's a grappler through and through. As I mentioned, 10 submission wins. That's pretty good. Solid grappler. He attacks submissions constantly. Not constantly, but you know what I mean. At a pretty high clip. Good submission arsenal. He's very active from his back, but we've seen him fade in fights a lot. And I feel like a pace that Goff is going to put on is going to be way too much for a guy like Brahimaj. I've got to go Billy Goff. I feel like that pace is unreal, and I think for this matchup, I don't think Brahimaj can keep up. So we're taking Billy Goff. Let me know what you think. Main event. If you haven't done it already, I would really appreciate a like on this video. It does help the channel quite a bit. It doesn't cost you anything, except for a few seconds, and you could have done that already by the time I've started this breakdown. So, Mateusz Gamrot takes on Ludovic Klein in the 155-pound lightweight division. Klein is 4-0 and a draw in his last 5 fights, 3-2 for Gamrot. So very similar records here. Both guys really similar records just overall. I like the matchmaking. It's a step up in competition for Klein, bit of a step back for Gamrot, but maybe that's where we're at, right? We're going to see whether Klein's ready for the upper echelon, or if we're going to see if maybe Gamrot is going to send him back down and say, you know what, you weren't quite ready, man. You weren't quite ready. We're going to see. So for Klein, he's probably going to be the better striker here, right? Because the dude is a solid striker. He's got really good counter striking. The power's there. Slick combinations where he'll put his punches and kicks together. But speaking of the kicks, his kicks are absolutely nasty and he can kick to all levels. So I love to see that. The dude has really shown that his kicking game is probably his best weapon on the feet. Decent grappling. His counter wrestling is good. He's really good at getting those underhooks and just working those in and forcing his opponents back up to upper body level. And then that's where he can start throwing the strikes and creating that space, getting back to striking range. So he's got really good counter wrestling. We've seen him use decent takedowns in the past. I don't know that that's going to work here, but he does have the ability to do it. And he has pretty good ground and pound elbows as well. So striking is where Klein wants to keep it. Now for Gamrot, he's actually a good striker. The wrestling threat really sets it up. He's got good boxing combinations. His leg kicks there, but his striking defense is pretty bad. Good durability, but eventually that's going to fade. And who knows? This could be the fight that it just falls apart, getting kicked by Klein. Now, grappling. That's where he's going to have the advantage. He wants to keep this as a grappling match because he's a solid grappler, is Gamrot, with solid takedown volume. He's also got good ground and pound that he uses to set up the attempts of the submissions. He doesn't get a ton of subs, but he will try to set up those attempts with that ground and pound and just kind of cycle between the two things. Good mat returns, but he does struggle to hold his opponents down, so that can be a problem. I do like the pace, the output, the high motor of a guy like Gamrot. But this fight's tricky for a couple reasons, because where are these two in their careers? That crossing point. For me, I still think Gamrot's got enough left in the tank to get this one done, and I do think that the grappling pace is going to just kind of give him the minutes that he's winning. And I think he's going to be able to do enough to win on the scorecard. So we're going to take Mateusz Gamrot to get this one done, but this is a close fight. I understand people being on both sides, and I can see why. Let me know what you think. We've got a main event here with a ton of title implications, a ton of weight being held in the rankings of the flyweight division for these women. Erin Blanchfield takes on Macy Barber. Now, this is important for a couple of things. One, both of these are young prospects on the rise in the division, in a division where it at the top is a lot of the aging veterans. Two, both of these women seem to have a pretty good fan base, pretty good backing from their specific part of the crowd. Now, for Barber, she's 14-2 with a 5-0 last 5 fights. For Blanchfield, she's 13-2, so extremely similar record, 4-1 in the last 5 fights. Now, I think that both of these fighters have potential to get to that title. I think this is a great fight. And I want to shout out my guy, Pink Floyd. He worked with me on the Julian Arosa video, but dude's been dropping these like awesome hype videos and edits. In fact, I might even link it at the end of this video to pop up on the screen just because dude's fantastic. But he did a really good hype package for this fight. I thought it was fun. You can watch that after this, or you can watch one of my videos. Both are totally cool. But let's break this one down. So, Macy Barber. She's a really good striker with that bullying style, right? I really love the way she just comes forward and just does not give a rip about what her opponent's doing. She just wants to force you backwards, and that's why, unlike traditional, just like, forward pressure fighters, she's going in there, just does not care what you're gonna put at her. At least most of the time. We'll see how she's been off for a while, but plenty of power. Girl can knock out anybody in the division. Good combinations, and her kicks are just nice kicks, right? Good grappler as well. Mostly in the cage push. She's got an absolutely devastating cage push where she lands bombs. She'll get her opponent up against cage and then just kind of like get a little step back and then just start winging these big heavy hooks. And they look like that. I'm not doing that because I can't. She's just winging the from clear over in the next room. She's winging these hooks sometimes, and when they land, you feel them. But she's got good top pressure and heavy ground and pound if she does get the fight to the mat. So for Barber, there's a lot to like. A couple things to dislike. We're going to cover that in a minute, actually. But there's a lot to like. For Blanchfield, ton to like here as well. She's got good striking, good forward pressure. I think she might struggle with the forward pressure against Barber. Maybe I'm wrong. Good volume. She can put together combinations. They're not super pretty combinations, but they're there. And she does have a nice head kick. I will definitely say she has a nice head kick. In the striking, both good, but Barber is the better striker, in my opinion. And she definitely hits harder. In the grappling, this is where Blanchfield has the edge. She is a very solid grappler. She has a good mix of traditional and trip style takedowns. She works to advanced position very quickly, and she likes to get to that crucifix position. Oftentimes also, she will snatch up a submission while she's threatening a pass. So she'll make you think she's about to pass, say from side control to mount, for example. And when you go to defend that, she says, bad move, snatches up an arm, snatches up a neck, whatever. That's when she takes her submissions. She's got a good cage push of her own. But in this one, I think Barber is going to have the advantage in the cage push. I think on the mat, it's Blanchfield. Cage push and distance striking, probably going to be Barber. Blanchfield can put out the volume, probably a little more than Barber, but just the power of Barber is going to be there. She does hit very hard. Now, Blanchfield, we saw this in the Filho fight. Now, maybe it's because Filho is a lot bigger, but it seems that Blanchfield kind of still being that young fighter. She hasn't really grown into she hasn't grown into her frame enough yet, I don't think. And when you look at her physique, you kind of see that. She's still got that youthful frame to her, right? You look at someone like Valentina, for example, looks like she's like chiseled out of marble. Erin, not that she's like not fit. She's very fit, don't get me wrong, but she doesn't look like she's fully into that. Gosh, how do I put this without sounding like a jerk? I'm tiptoeing here. She doesn't look like she has that full grown woman body to her yet, right? So she seems to be able to get out physical by fighters that are much bigger in the division, someone like a Filho. So that could be a problem for her because Barber is a very physical style of fighter. Now, I don't think that Barber is as physical as Filho, so maybe that doesn't come into play. Here's a couple other things that I need to bring into it. So Barber hasn't fought for a long time. And I don't think she specifically has said why. She's kind of tiptoed around that a few times and didn't actually say. But if you look at Macy Barber's Instagram, now I could be wrong. Maybe just over that time, she came into her full woman body. Maybe that's it. But all of a sudden, her chest looks a lot bustier, if you will. So that makes me believe that she took time off from her fighting career to adjust the size of her breasts, which that historically hasn't been a good thing for women's MMA fighters. Probably not for men's either, but I don't know of any that have done that. So if you know of any, let me know in the comments. That seems like an interesting story to break down, but I could be wrong. I've not heard, I don't know any medical reports, but it appears that Macy Barber did get a boob job, and that is why her absence from the cage has been so lengthy. Because that is a very invasive surgery and does take you out of anything physical for a long time. I've known people that have had that done. It is something that really sets you back as far as that. So to me, that's a negative on the Barber side, if that is in fact true. I could be wrong. The photos just make you think that's the case. Now, Blanchfield, we know she's been putting in work in the gym. We know she's been doing what she needs to do. That gives me the lean on the Blanchfield side, and I've got to take her in this matchup. But I do think this is a competitive fight, and I think both of these ladies could be champion at some point in the division. In fact, both of them still might be. I think Barber at some point could actually be a better fit for the bantamweight division just because of the way she fights and the level of competition up there. It's not as good, right? Blanchfield, I think she's undersized for bantamweight. I think Barber is too, but I think she has more of the ability to put on the weight. So maybe we see both of these ladies as champions at some point in the future. They're both still young in their career. For this specific fight, I'm going to take the cold-blooded one. We're going with Erin Blanchfield. But let me know what you think. If you haven't seen it already, pop up on the screen. I've got a couple of videos popping up. One's mine, one's Pinky's. I'll see you guys soon. Catch y'all down the road.